Welcome to High Tea with Dirk and Rens, a podcast about cannabis and everything that has to do with this wonderful plant. You could be saying that this is episode 59, but this is really the Barcelona Special number 3 that we are taping, because we are still live and well in Barcelona. The weather has gotten a bit better. So we're doing the Barcelona Specials, having people over in our Airbnb apartment here, right in the middle of Barcelona, near Plaza Catalunya. And we managed to get 2 very, very interesting guests for the episode special of today. A warm welcome to Sebi, Sebastian, and Lukas from Pilchard, I think. You.
Exactly.
Hi, Derek. It's great to be here. Thanks a lot for the invitation. Really, you have a great apartment. I mean, we was a lot around now in Barcelona the last few days, but this is off the hook. Wake and bake deluxe, I would say.
Yeah, and before we go deeply in an interview with you guys, I also still want to thank our sponsors for this Spannabis tour. It's sponsored by Dutch Passion, Seed Stockers, Super Sativa Seed Club, and Biodebs.
Yep. So big shout out to these friendly cannabis companies. Most of them have been along for a very, very long time. So we are very happy to have them support this tour and make this all possible. Yeah, Spannabis, we are now on the Sunday where we are recording this. So we had a lot of the Spannabis experience. Before we get into like your personal journeys and also the new company and Spain and all that, let's first focus on Spannabis itself. How was it for you guys to be back at Spannabis after 2 years of no Spannabis?
Mostly like time traveling, to be honest. It was like jumping into a box and being back 2 years ago, back in 2019, and staying there. It looks exactly the same. It's exactly the same crowd. In a positive way on the one hand, because it's like, okay, nice, not much has changed. I see the same people. They are still working in the industry. We are still moving forward. But on the other hand, it feels like a little bit like, yeah, why didn't we get a little bit more out of it in 2 years? Why is it still a big event where everyone gets to see, where everyone goes for freebies on the consumer side, and on the brand side, they often do it. Many brands want to give out much freebies, and I feel like looking to Northern America, there would have been a wider range in these 2 years to improve this show.
Okay, interesting. How about you, Sebastian?
Yeah, the same. It's like 2 years without any expos at all. I mean, the last half a year we was on 2 actually, smaller kind of. So yeah, there are people I didn't see for at least 2 or 3 years now. So it felt really, really good. We always really stoked about to see all these people again. And immediately you have this family thing. Another big thing for me personal was, of course, now we are here the first time with our new company. Mm-hmm. So it was also like we was really looking forward to this. We started when all this Corona madness happens. So you know it, in our branch, the expos are really important to meet up with guys. It's always better to talk in person than just on the phone. So yeah, we was looking forward to this expo so much, and yeah, you could see it Thursday evening. I arrived, guys already waiting for me. Best menu ever. Went to the next club, so I really enjoy my time here. Derek, it's the same with you. I think we saw us the last time in 2018 or something.
Yep.
So yeah, time flies, and yeah, I'm really grateful to be here again.
Yeah. How about you, Rens? How was your? I remember that you went on Friday to the Spannabis, and then in the evening you said, wow, similar to what you said. It's not so, it's the same. It's like traveling time machine. I'm not going tomorrow. But then yesterday you did go all day again.
Yeah, although it's improved a little bit with the size. They changed a little bit, and they put a different kind of tent, or how you say it, in the middle of it. But indeed, it was like that. It felt like that I'm walking like in an expo 3 years ago, with a little bit different kind of genetics, but a little bit more American way.
And no Dynafem, I noticed. That was something for me. I was going through the booklet. Wow, are they not here at all? No, they're not. So that was to me.
But besides that, it was just amazing to see all those people again. It was feeling like, and every year, you know more people. So from 2016, I was there and I knew nobody, and I was like,
what the hell is this?
The new kid on the block, and now I really see a lot of people that I recognize, and I have to talk with them. And then
that's what's great about
somebody
it.
else come by, and I want to talk to him as well. And it's for me, it's hard to. I wanted to split myself up in 4 persons.
Yes.
So
This is what you get.
And I should correct myself. I sounded so negative in the beginning, but in the end, Friday, for example, I was completely overwhelmed for the first day because I saw all these people again. And now I only want to talk about them, how they've been doing over the last years, how more private talk, because if I'm on a video conference with someone for 45 minutes, we take the first 2 or 3 minutes for small talk, but not for how have you been doing, what's up in your life, etc. And then these 8-9 hours on the show, they just flew by so quickly because it wasn't that much business, but much more seeing friends and family, let's say like this again, and it's super nice.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, for me, it's the first time I've been also coming here for years. Of course, it's the first time I brought my wife, who is actually on the table, being very silent. Our one-person audience. So that to me is a very nice extra dimension, of course, because she knows so many people in the industry, but has never gone to Spannabis because maybe she thought it was a bit much. But up till now, I think she's having a good time. And like you also mentioned, with the clubs being really such an integral part of the Spannabis experience is also great. When you come to these places that you have been coming to for years, and then add it up that you see some people also like your friends. They are there at the same club. That's great. So it's to me it's good to be back. So to speak.
Yeah, and besides the city itself is just great. Barcelona, it's a great city. The clubs are great. The food is amazing. So really enjoy it here.
Yesterday we had with the whole almost, except for one. But most of the crew that are here in the Airbnb, we all went for a really, really nice Spanish dinner yesterday night.
Yeah, we got treated very well.
Excellent stuff.
But also, it's also a funny thing to see. Like 2 years ago, we just started with the podcast.
Yeah.
And we were just there with the simple recording machine. And now we're sitting here with a full microphones, Rode setup.
It's good that you mention it because, of course, time flies like that. But as you will certainly remember, the episode we taped there was with the Daga couple. So then, when Jules was still alive, and shortly after that, of course, that is gruesome news that he was killed, murdered in South Africa. And then it really, it was really weird with the corona added on top of that, and so you get some feeling that you are at least recording a bit of oral history of cannabis culture and cannabis around the world, because that is, of course, maybe that's even the best aspect, I think, of Spannabis, such an international event. You get the Americans here, you get people from all over South America. I've seen good people, and that's really that's fantastic. So I have to explain. I think for our regular listeners who are waiting for our regular segments, again, maybe if you didn't hear the other Barcelona specials we made, we do away with the news segments and the normal segments we have because it's such a frenzy being here, and we are taping a lot of content. So, but except for one segment, I would say, because we all love it so much, and we cannot smoke here because we are in the Airbnb, so we have to do it on the balcony. We did do it before, but this is the question.
Wat zit er in jouw joint vandaag?
What's in your joint today? It's always our first segment, but then for this show, it's the only segment we do.
Yeah, but sadly, or maybe also
We only have to.
out of respect of the place at the Airbnb we were sitting, we're not smoking at the table. So, but it's a good question. What did we smoke before?
What was in your
get-
joint today?
Sebi, you rolled it. You know what was inside.
Yeah, I mean, when I stepped into this apartment and it really looks so professional here, we was of course afraid to even ask if we couldn't roll a joint. I mean, then we saw the living room, things got clearer there. So, I like to start my day normally with, like a nice hybrid strain. So what I had today was the Granddaddy's Purple Pearl. It's one of our, famous strains by Pilchards. And it's a pretty new strain. We was struggling a little bit with it. We have it.
I want to smell it while you're talking, because we can't smoke, but we can smell. If somebody is somebody,
I don't have it.
yeah. Oh, we can put them on break to get it. Hold on. So yeah, I passed the podcast forward. That's the power of the podcast. We can do that. But in the meanwhile, they
Sebastian has zapped.
run
Get
to
the
the other
strain.
side of the room and get this nice flower he were going to talk about. And I was so curious. What? Yeah, tell
It's called
me.
Granddaddy Pearl.
A Granddaddy's Purple Pearl.
Purple Pearl.
And I had to run because it's so good, so I have to take care that there is some left over there. No, I'm just kidding. Granddaddy's Purple, I mean, everybody of you guys know it. It's quite a long strain on the market available. We was trying to find a really nice one out of this all different versions, but it really took some time. And then we was like, but that one is really what we want for Pilchards. We tried it for many times, always had some struggle. Okay, people, but already knows the name Granddaddy's Purple, so we come up with the Granddaddy's Purple Pearl and have now it's a nice gelato selection, but it's also mixed with a French macaron.
Okay.
So it's quite a new thing. It's available since
3 months.
3 months.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty proud of that one. Yeah, and have a look. Have a look
Yeah.
on your.
I have to say, it already looks super fantastic.
It became quite a wild mix by now, because some of the clones were for the breeder, some of the clones were always struggling, and they kept on breeding with it and kept on breeding. And because it's still very similar to the original product, for us it's better to put out this under the name that people still know and remember than having a new strain every time and then people don't recognize it. But in the end, as long as we are very close to what was the original Purple Pearl, it works. But for us, it's really important that we have quality product, that we have quality seeds and genetics available, that don't harm me on everyone, that don't give you stressful times. And when there were problems, we had to talk to the producer and tell them, guys, we need this product to be improved. We have to struggle with this. Many customers have told us about this. So we need you to keep on developing, and they're still working on it.
How about you, Rens? What was in your joint? This.
I was smoke. I can be honest. I haven't rolled a joint yet today.
Just participating in others.
But what you mentioned, there was already a little hot box going down in the other room. But I was smoking a little bit from my friend's joint. It was biscotti with a little. Like a mayonnaise clother of the ZZ.
I don't think our English listeners will understand a bit of what you say. Mayonnaise clodder. What do you mean?
I put a little. They put a little donut in it.
Okay.
Maybe let's say it like this from the ZZ live resin.
I don't think all of our listeners will know what you mean by having a donut in the wheat. Explain.
Why we didn't get to try the rosé?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a good one. Now it's my friend from Loom Extracts, which is also sleeping in this beautiful Airbnb. He made some live resin, some BHO from some of his, trimming product. He made some nice BHO from the ZZ. And I have to say, it's one of the best BHO I ever smelled. Like the ZZ, the Skittles from Karma Genetics is really like slamming in your nose when you try to smell it, and with the
Karma is also staying in this Airbnb, friend of the show.
also it's a nice
We have
group
multiple legends in the house, including my wife, of course.
especially your wife, of course. No, but it was a wonderful mix of the biscotti.
But the
with
biscotti
the
you got yesterday at
it's from the
Terps
Army. Yes.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to our friends from Terps Army. We were there yesterday, and it was also super nice because I've been there in the COVID times like 3 times, and it was like almost empty. Few guests in the time, but it was like not allowed to sit down. So you were in a huge social club without anybody. And yesterday I finally stepped in. It was like no place for us to sit.
True.
So we were like standing there and enjoying like the crowd. But then it was time to move on because we were so tired. We walked the whole day on Spannabis and your feet is hurting and you just want to sit down and smoke a joint. Of course, we ate so much. We were also like having a full belly. And at the end we were rolling to our apartment back.
Yeah, but now you got us hungry for it. Like, I totally get that we can't share joints here because of COVID measures, but then now you got us so hungry for it, we really want to try that after the episode.
Yeah, it's called RAO. Rao.
Rao.
I have to say it was just a lucky pick from Google Maps.
Oh no, I'm talking about the extract.
I have my.
We have also always the before sesh and then also the after sesh.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so
perfect.
While,
Then don't worry.
we're here in
it's
Barcelona,
already
don't
so
worry.
long. Oh, we need to wrap up, guys. We need to. No. We're gonna do the ZZ after this podcast. And you, Derek, what did you smoke?
For me, it was like kind of hard. All these nice strains that you want to smoke separately. But like you, I quit the tobacco, of course, last year in July. Still not using any tobacco at all for nothing. Smoking pure. So then... Applausje voor onszelf, as we say in Dutch. We cannot applaud ourselves, Rens. It's no good. So I had these 2 strains that I put together to have one nice pure joint, and it was both we got at the Dankgrass Club on the first night I came in here.
Dankgrass.
Ice Cream Bean, which I liked for a strain name as well, and Runs, which I think every. Not Rens, Runs. I think every weed smoker likes Runs, don't you? Don't you think?
Yeah, I think Rens is.
If it's that close to Rens, it's gotta be good.
One of the best strains, I think. It's always.
Yeah, so I mixed those up about half, and it made for a nice wake and bake.
Yep.
This morning.
So we all got a little bit baked, and so we're sitting here. Can you tell us a little bit from your backstory, how you get into the cannabis industry?
Yeah, I'm working for the cannabis, in the cannabis branch almost 12 years now. I used to work before at a really small grow shop, then moved on to another. We built up a really big one that time. I think it was 2012, 2013. After 4 years and at that shop, the boss, the owner offered me to build another shop in another town because it was really going well. So I was like, yeah, why not? So I went to another town. We make another grow shop. Really
This was Salzburg, I think. Eh?
Then it was Salzburg, exactly. Yeah. Before I was in Upper Austria in Linz. Then I went to Salzburg. Yeah, but to be honest, after 10 years in a grow shop selling all these products, never get the chance to travel. Always had this vision of my own seed bank in my head. Yeah, and then COVID come up, and that was then so the point where we was both like, hey, it's of course it's a tricky time, but it's definitely not the time to get depressed or just be like in this sad modus. So we decided, hey, now it's the time to start things, to build the brand, and that's how we started.
And like you said, you were in Portugal at the time, but if we take a step back for you, when did first time cannabis come into your life really as a young guy?
Well, with 15, I had my first joint, I guess, and it wasn't that much of a pleasurable experience. And to be honest, I was always really afraid because I had seen myself with cigarettes early on, and I knew, okay, if I do something, then it probably, I tend to do it quite a lot. And with alcohol back then, I saw the same thing as a young teenager, and I was always struggling really heavily with alcohol, not in an addictive way, but when I got drunk, I was full on wasted. And the German kid you don't want to have as your kid, and aggressive, annoying, and then when I was 19, 20, I started smoking with my friends, and suddenly I was a really nice person, and I really enjoyed walking around and having good times. And people told me like, "Man, you are much more chill and easy to be with when you're not drunk, and maybe weed is better for you." And then at some point, some of my best friends literally told me like, "Man, quit alcohol, just don't do it anymore. We don't like you when you are wasted." And then at some point with like 20, I said, okay, then no more alcohol. I will not do anything for a while. Started smoking weed after 1 year, and that really, really helped me. And it calmed me down and allowed me to focus more on my personal goals in life and where I actually wanted to go. And around the same time, Colorado and Washington legalized. And for me, that came totally out of the blue. I didn't know, okay, in the US, there are any serious efforts to legalize cannabis. And suddenly that topic was out. I had grown up next to the Dutch border, so I already knew coffee shops, and I knew I never went to a dealer in Germany. I would just go on to the other side of the border, travel to Nijmegen.
The Kronkel.
Yeah, exactly. Or Jet Set. And then back over the border.
That's for the people who don't know this coffee shop, Kronkel. It's the biggest, I would say, and one of the oldest in Nijmegen.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. Like Kronkel, in the whole of Netherlands, in all coffee shops I've been to, Kronkel is definitely in the top 3. It's such a beautiful store, and they have downstairs, they have a nice restaurant where you can actually eat something, where you get the best milkshakes ever in a cannabis environment. You go upstairs in summer, they have this rooftop terrace where you can sit and smoke, and it's beautiful.
Yep, so shout out to those the fine people of Kronkel in Nijmegen.
Definitely. And then back then I started thinking about, okay, I would like to work with cannabis, but I was working in a German company doing an apprenticeship, so you work and go to school at the same time. It was a very traditional industry environment, and no one was talking about cannabis there. And when I went to university in Amsterdam, things became more clear again, and I was like, okay, maybe there's some potential. Then I studied in San Diego and got...
What did you study?
International business management.
Okay.
So I always had this business background. I don't have a science or plant science background, but I knew, okay, with business, you can do something with cannabis eventually. I was working in Bluebird coffee shop in Amsterdam for a couple of months. But when I went to California, things were entirely different. Like, you would go into a dispensary and people would ask you, hey, how are you doing today, Lucas? I was like, okay, why do you know my name already? And yeah, hey, we have 32 different strains here. These ones have more of a balanced terpene profile. This one is a 1,1 CBD THC genetic. And this one is very potent in migraine terpenes. So it will probably have more of a sedating effect on you. And I was
not the kind of talk you get from a butt tender in
You
Amsterdam.
won't get higher stoned.
Do you want 1 gram or 5 bag?
Yeah.
5 gram? Okay, take this one.
You want to pay cash or you want to pay with card?
Do you want amnesia or amnesia?
And then I called my parents and was like, okay, guys, honestly, I really want to work with cannabis. Here, it's already 10 years ahead of Europe. And
The promised land.
yeah, and then they helped me to go to an investors meeting in Portland, Oregon, where cannabis investors and entrepreneurs came together, and I just helped as a staffer. So I would be the one bringing out drinks in between, and then I could go to the networking event after for free.
Okay.
And from out there, I started building a network in the US. And then when this team came to Spain for one show, while I was doing an internship here a year later, I met my first boss and started working in seeds, directly after the university, and traveled all over Northern America, Europe, South Africa, Israel to sell seeds for a couple of years.
What seed bank?
Whoa.
It's a BBG project. It's a producer for licensed producers, other seed banks, private labeling companies, etc. And that was a really nice job. And I got to build such a big network within the industry in very short time. I got to see all the different shows over the planet before COVID happened. So before all the big pharmaceutical.
Yeah, good timing.
And then I worked for a German pharmaceutical distributor for a year because Germany was legalizing medical cannabis and I wanted to participate in that. And that was fun too, but working in pharmaceuticals, it's no longer cannabis culture. And hey, we talk about strains and terpene profiles and cannabinoid levels maybe.
Yeah.
But it's not talking about the fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I personally, I don't feel too German and really enjoy living down south in Spain and Portugal. So after a couple of months, I went back down south and was looking for projects. And then COVID started, and Sebi and I started talking more and more, and we figured out, okay, we have some knowledge that comes together. We both like each other. We like working with each other. We have common goals in mind, and sat down and started a seed bank together.
Yeah, so I think the concept of your seed bank is that you do not produce seeds yourself, but it's you that sort of pick the seeds and have collabs with breeders. Can you tell us a bit about that, Sebi?
Exactly, that's exactly what we're doing in the moment. We want to support small breeders because also the relationship between Lukas and me, it's like, I mean, I'm growing half of my life. I'm getting 33 now. I started to plant my first cannabis with 16. So I have the knowledge about the plant, about the growing, but I don't have any knowledge about business. Then one day...
That's not true. You're a great salesman, for example.
Thanks. But then one day, Lukas come up and told me, but it's not only you who don't have this knowledge. Think about all these really good breeders. They are artists, but they don't know how to... I mean, to be honest, on my own, I know people who are really great in what they're doing, but with all the smoking, they are not able to go to some meetings. They're not able to... bring their product on the market properly, even if they have the good quality stuff. And that's exactly where we step in. So we figured out some process how we can test all these strains. What's our strains which which follow us over the last years. And we have this huge network from growers, from breeders, from producers. So I have my people who I trust and I give them the strains, and I know that when they tell me it's a good one, I can trust them. We grow it on our own as well. If it's in common, okay, then it's like, okay, that one we give a better try. On the other side, we only offer 7 strains right now because it all takes time. So other seed banks, I know they have 20, 25, 15,000 strains. We cannot do that. But we can promise that all of these 7 strains are pure fire.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good concept.
Yeah, and private labeling is very fast spread in every industry, and in cannabis it's the same. And it's in medical markets we white label flower or extracts, and one big producer sells to several distributors that all develop their brand. It's the same with vaporizers. They come from big Asian producers, and then companies put their brand on top of it and say it's our product.
Yep.
And that happens in seeds too, and everyone knows about it. And many people expect. Then there's this romantic idea of, we have one strain that's made by one breeder, but suddenly all the seed banks have the same or similar strains after 1 or 2 years eventually. And it's getting very difficult to identify who has good strains and where are they actually good. Then on top of that comes that seeds change in quality, or mother plants change in quality. So eventually, if you have a good mother plant, but you have an energy breakout for a couple of fallout for a couple of days, suddenly this mother plant is dead, and therefore it's getting really, really difficult to identify what seed bank, what strain is really good. And with our concept, we are super flexible to work with everyone as long as there's quality. And as long as we know, okay, this is good stuff, then we always need to retest it. We always need to check, is it still good quality, because it could degrade. And that's our job, to test these genetics, and then people can communicate with us. They can ask us questions directly. They can talk to us, and we identify, hey, what genetic is good for you? What do you actually want to achieve? And help them finding the best genetic they want to. Plus, we have Pilchards where they know these 7 genetics. They come from Lukas and Sebi. They have tested them so much, they can tell me everything about it. And then they know, okay, Pilchard's Caviar is fire stuff.
Because tell us a bit more about the name. and also the visual that you use for the marketing. How did you come up with that?
Pilchard is another word for sardine and small fish. It's mostly used in South Africa and I think Australia as well. So over there it works out really, really well because people get the joke about it. They get, okay, caviar doesn't come from a sardine. It's cannabis caviar. Caviar is seed. Okay, we are playing with words there. But it's difficult in Europe, and we need to explain people that much more. And that's why it's great that we can travel again, that we meet people in person, because otherwise they get this impression, oh yeah, it's caviar, that's the finest and most luxury stuff. And okay, now listeners can't look at us, but if they look at a picture of us, they will see, okay, Sebi and Lukas, those guys are not the caviar kind of guys who walk around in most
You don't
fancy
need caviar for breakfast.
Exactly. But for us, quality product and high quality cannabis is really important, and therefore cannabis caviar is a thing that we want to promote. For us, Pilchard's Caviar is a brand that represents quality on the one hand and cannabis lifestyle that promotes being active, breaking the stereotype, going out there and living and enjoying a really nice life.
Also, back in my days at the grow shop, or back in my days in Austria, I had a lot of projects where people need a lot of seeds. When you have a grower who really is into seeds and maybe wants to pick up, maybe wants to work with seeds, you need a lot of them. And I really could see that the quality, it went down, down, down. All this Hermes, all these bananas in the new strains, that's also something I can't stand it. I really can't stand it.
But you can smell it.
I can smell it, yeah. We had quite a few nice experiences with that one.
he literally smells seeds before you see them. So when someone opens a glass and Sebi is like, and you can already see, okay, probably he smelled it again. And when there's hermaphrodite in it, he goes through it and it's like, no, there's something inside. And I'm like, nah, come on, man, it's fine. We smoked 5 grams of it. It's fine. That has been not. And there it is. There's the seed. I don't know how you do it, but you smell it.
Oh.
Also, when we moved to Spain, to Galicia, and we went into the first social clubs, it was also like the bartender, of course, no man, I don't smell it. And then we was picking it up, and then he said, okay, yeah, sorry, man.
Yeah, because tell us a bit more about that. Why did you choose Galicia as a base to go? Because you were living before in Portugal, you said, and you were still back in Austria, of course. So why there?
To be honest, Sebi did me a great favor by moving there, because for me, it's one of the most important factors in life is that I lived next to an ocean where I can surf. And Portugal is the best destination in Europe to do so. But
okay, so that's why you were there, yeah.
Yeah, and it's my home by now. I really, really love it. It's such a calm and chill place with easygoing people. And as a consumer, really nice cannabis laws. As soon as you go into growing, it gets hell, and the cops there started going after people with 1 or 2 plants, and then they listen to their phones for 3 months and go out, oh yeah, we seized 2 plants here, and after 3 months investigations, it's ridiculous by now.
It's interesting to hear, because I think most of our listeners will know that Portugal indeed has like for the consumers that anything is illegal as long as it's like for your personal use to possess, but it's kind of bad to hear that for the growing, the police are still.
The Portuguese law were made to overcome an opium crisis, to overcome a heroin crisis in the 90s, and that worked out really, really well. I have a good friend of mine who did some research for the Portuguese and US government on that topic, and she said it's so good because heroin addicts don't get pushed on the street and get kicked out of society, but they get perceived as sick and having an issue, so they get help, and then they can follow their normal lives, they can go to work, and it's really nice. Unfortunately, cannabis is technically the same as heroin if you have 25 grams or more, and as soon as you have a plant, it's difficult. And if you are a Portuguese and you go there and you probably have family that knows someone and you speak Portuguese on a very good level, if you have 1 plant, you most likely would get out of it without a problem.
But how do you get weed, like as a consumer, if you don't grow? Because I know clubs.
You need to know people.
A grower.
Yeah, you need to know people who then sell you flower. Otherwise, you get hash.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
hash is everywhere, and the hash goes from the best Moroccan hash that you will get in Europe to this €1.50 placas where stuff is inside that I don't even want to know what it is. But many Portuguese kids who are 20, early 20s, they want to save money because it's a low-income country compared to other countries in
And
Europe.
buy this shitty hash.
They buy the shitty hash, and many of them get super unmotivated, and they are like, no, I don't want to do stuff. And that's not, I feel sorry for them, because I know if they had the money to buy proper cannabis, they could really enjoy that. And instead, they get forced to consume this weird stuff.
You hear the same about France, really, that it's very much easier always to get hash and cheaper to get hash. And that the flower it's much harder. Yeah.
The runners, they are called in French, where then just like this colonne of cars comes from Morocco, and then you have the really fast cars in front and in the back, so they're driving like crazy, and if there's the police on the street, of course they go after the crazy drivers. So it's like France is really
It's
bad.
a smart trick.
Because also when you think about the law in France, I mean, for a smoker it's really tough there, but still France is like the most smokers in Europe.
Yeah, true. They're number one. Yeah. As we are doing a small round of European drug policy and cannabis policy anyway, I wanted to get to this because I think it's so, in a way, it's so funny, but it's also logical that in the Austrian drug law, you can maybe explain it. As long as a cannabis plant is not flowering, then it's legal.
No, that's not true. The flowering is not the problem, Derek. We all do it for the flowering. The problem is when you cut the flower, because then you turn from the nice little gardener to this Pablo Escobar kind of badass. Yeah, it's really like, the law in Austria is really like that. But of course, when the police comes to your place, they see the plants, even if they're just in the growing in the veg. They will think like, hey, you are the big drug dealer over here, and you will get problems. But in the end,
so how is it possible that clones are legal to produce and to sell?
Because the police has to. They have to find something that you are really like the drug dealer. When you just buy them for a nice time with a flower, it's no problem. But when you cut them, they find maybe a baggie, maybe they find a smoked joint, then you get in trouble.
And say if you put it in your garden and you grow it just outdoor like any flower, really, then they would be okay with it.
Of course, they want to come after you, but in Austria there are a few guys who played this game, and the police knows them already, and they let it be. In the winter, it's breaking down anyway. So also that I noticed actually an old friend of mine. He used to have a grow shop as well. Then he started to sell clones because it's legal.
Yeah.
Police come, had a big raid, but he didn't cut it for the police. So the police had to cut it on their own. You made something illegal, Mr. Police Officer. You are the one who cutting the flower right now. Of course, in the end, you always pay off. It's not worth it, all the fight. But yeah, that's the weird law in Austria. And then Lucas promised me this kind of, hey, you will like it in Spain. There's a much nicer culture about the cannabis. I mean, I knew it already from Barcelona, but what's happening in Spain, for me as an Austrian guy, I'm not the one who everybody looks at on the street anymore. I can go there like this normal. I can live my life normally. If I'm smoking somewhere and it's not appreciated, I will stop immediately, no problem. But also I can smoke at home and not someone is ringing at the clock, and in Austria it was like, is it police?
It's very interesting that you say this, because on our first Barcelona special that we did in Dutch, we had on Jouke from Dutch Passion, who now is he's doing the seed stockers. And he also said that that's one of the differences that he sees between the Spanish and the Dutch scene, and it's really shameful for us being Dutch, is that he says it's so much more socially accepted in Spain. If you're working in cannabis, if you smoke cannabis, you don't have to hide it. He really literally explained a lot of people that he knows, he would never say back in the Netherlands that he smoked weed, because he know what kind of a negative reaction he gets, And in Spain he doesn't. And then, it's good to hear that you feel it the same way.
And that's increasing so quickly in Portugal lately, because I moved there in 2017, And back then, it was still very much you smoke cannabis, so yeah, you're a drug addict. Personally, I didn't care. I lived there for the beach and for surfing, so that's it. But for many of Portuguese friends of mine, they told me like, nah, I can't talk about that at home. And then in 2018, they implemented the new legislation allowing for medical production. And suddenly Portuguese heard all over the news, Tilray is investing 40 million here, and another company is investing 30 million here. And now cannabis is a big business model there. And suddenly even older parent-age people start talking about, we should legalize before Germany legalizes, because then we can export there, and that would be a really good business for us. And talking, for example, my girlfriend is Portuguese, and talking to her dad about that at first, I was like, okay, maybe I should be careful. And he's super interested, and that's interesting. Oh yeah, exciting stuff. So cannabis, that's a big business model in future. Yeah, I used to work in pharmaceuticals. Maybe we can do something there.
It's amazing how all these people are coming in.
And that happened within 2 or 3 years now, and it's really impressive to see.
Yeah.
My first experience here in a social club in Galicia, it was like we was having a nice chat with the people there, and then the question came, of course, and do you also grow? And I was like, no man, no, I have a seed bank. And Lucas was, wait, what? But you did grow back in the days? No. Hey, we are in Spain now, you can talk. And then the guys come up with the phone, look what I do.
Yeah.
It's great. It's like I'm finally coming home.
And Galicia has a really nice climate. Like Barcelona usually has a much more of a summer vibe, and it's much warmer. But on the downside, you always have tourists. And lots of tourists. And in summer, it gets so hot that working becomes barely possible anymore. In Galicia, it's much milder climate. The winters are harsher. It's much more rainy, but therefore in summer you have beautiful weather. It's really, really nice. Sometimes a little bit rainy. You can sleep at night. I can surf there. And we wanted to try it out, and it's a really nice place for some time. But being here now in Barcelona and seeing, life is starting again, the industry is moving forward again. Yeah, probably at some point we need to find some place here too, because Barcelona is the place in Europe to be right now for sure.
Yeah, you would say the capital of cannabis for Europe.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe if Amsterdam unfortunately lost it years ago, and I'm not too sure how it will develop here over the next years, because looking around the city, there are always these Pablo Escobar's T-shirts and these shops that just sell cocaine merchandise. And people here are sick of it. They don't want it. And therefore the cops and the authorities start working against it. So we need to be really careful in Barcelona not to destroy this vibe. But
at Spannabis, I actually saw like a nutrients company that has Narcos. It's like Narcos nutrients.
Oh, but that's still very mild. Then there are these T-shirts in these shops in downtown with these light symbols all over them saying, shop here. Then you go inside and they have 3 Barcelona T-shirts and 15 shirts with different pictures of Pablo Escobar or cocaine on them. And yeah, that's the clientele some of these shops want, but it's not the cannabis culture that I imagine in future.
Course, yeah.
And looking, for example, at the club where we spend most time, it's such a chill and easygoing, nice environment where you meet business professionals from all over the world who at the same time are super passionate about cannabis. And that's
what we need for legalization, of course.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why I want to work in this field, because I work with people who love what they are doing while they can be successful. Yeah. And I don't mainly work to smoke. I just love to smoke, love to work while I smoke, but I don't live to smoke 24/7. And I would prefer, I think that in Barcelona with less cheap cannabis tourism and more a bit higher class and with a little bit more etiquette would benefit the city.
But Derek, you seem to be a little bit surprised before. What do you think is the capital of weed right now? Because I remember 2013 it was my second time High Life Cup. Of course I was stoked as hell. And then you was like, yeah, but why you don't go to Barcelona? And you said it to me like 2013 already, that Barcelona is the place to be when you are like a smoker.
Yeah, but it's interesting to hear it now. Amsterdam has lost it. I don't know if it will ever be changed again. We, of course, in the Netherlands now have the weed experiment coming up, but it's been coming up for like 4 or 5 years already. And I've been talking, of course, to some people here at Spanibus also that are like in the weed experiment because they only have place for 10 growers to do it. So I asked him, sort of half jokingly, so when can I buy this weed that you'll be making? And he said somewhere in 2023, and that's more like leaving room for like more towards the end of 2023, and maybe we can get back then, because that's one thing about Spain, of course. It's all like very much gray area.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about this also. If you look at some of the clubs, I really like that sort of squad kind of vibe, you know, because I remember it from the 80s in the Netherlands, and I like it sort of alternative styling. But then again, you can also see it like for these people, their future is uncertain, you know. And a lot of clubs that we used to go to and that I used to go to, they are gone by now. If you're sort of unlucky and you get, I don't know, maybe the wrong kind of rate, or you get into trouble and then your club's just gone. This is no real solid foundation for going forward into the future, you know. So if we can regulate in the Netherlands and get real good wheat and clean wheat again in the shops, and the prices will be good, and we finally will roll it out, then I would say we are very much the basis, of course, of the whole cannabis culture. Yeah. And this I learned especially from American activists before the things started changing in America, that they said, please hold on in the Netherlands, because you are the one country that proves if you sell cannabis in a shop, it's not meaning that everybody will use cannabis every day. No, like we were always the proof of that we have still moderate use, like we sort of halfway in cannabis use for Europe. And now finally countries are getting on board. But with Germany, for instance, I think it's super exciting and interesting. But also, they have to, how are they going to do it? What will the Fachgeschäfte, as they call it in German, look like? Can you consume inside? How will the regulations be? How long are they going to take before they have this law? And then maybe if we finally get our act together, we can get that place back again. So I would, if you would really put a knife to my to my neck and say, what is the cannabis capital of Europe? I would agree it's Barcelona, but it might change in the future. Oh, yeah. You know, maybe it will be Berlin. You know, if they really act fast and the activists get their way, sort of how they want to see it. Because I also bumped in at the fair into Dear Misha from Germany, very well-known activist. And I asked him about the timing and also a few things, that it will be like a bit coffee shop style and that you can consume inside in the shops. And he was very confident about it on both terms, that it for sure will be done within the next, say, 3.5 years, so within the government period. And also that it will be consumption. And they are fighting very hard for what's called Eigenanbau in German, so that people can grow themselves. And that would be great for the Netherlands if they do, because then we can finally get some home grow. As we talk about often on the show, that so many people still think you are allowed to have 5 plants in the Netherlands. It's not like that. Yeah. People get evicted for less than 5 plants. Yeah.
Well, isn't it actually like in a lot of Netherlands coffee shop that you actually get homegrown wheat from Germany in the moment?
From Germany, I haven't heard, but Spanish wheat for sure.
Yeah, Spanish wheat for sure, but I think also the German.
Could well be.
Maybe I told you that, because some of the border coffee shops, apparently they get their product from the German side. Where I grew up, there are they have many farms being raided. Every other month there's one farm going on, because on our side of the border there are these vast agricultural farms where you just have lots and lots of space, and then they grow there, bring it over the border and send it there.
I know for a fact that quite a few Dutch normal farmers, so to speak, they move to Germany because the regulations are better. Like you say, there's much more space and room to have a bigger company. So I guess it might be the same for the wheat growers too. And I've heard I thought that was very, very funny. Some coffee shop owners I talked to, they are really sort of thinking about it. I don't think that they will ever will, but looking for a place to run a coffee shop close to the Dutch border, you know, because they know how to do it, and if the licensing will be there, it'd be fun to have a coffee shop in Germany as well.
And I really don't want to say, oh, Amsterdam lost it forever, ever. But at the moment, I feel like if I compare the experience going to a social club in Barcelona and going to a coffee shop in Amsterdam, going to buy cultivation material in Spain versus going to buy cultivation material in the Netherlands, I feel like Barcelona right now is the capital of cannabis in Europe. But I studied in Amsterdam. I love the city, and I that was one of the main places where we went as young kids, and we're like, oh yeah, there we can try out cannabis. And I would start from Amsterdam again.
Yeah.
I really don't want to say that Amsterdam lost it forever, but looking at both cities compared to each other, the level of service, the level of where do I sit, the quality of flower and other products is so much higher in Barcelona right now that I feel like Amsterdam lost the first place there. But I studied in this place, in Amsterdam. I love the city. And for example, Boerenjongens in Amsterdam, they have such great product most of the times, and it's a really nice vibe going in there. And they have these old pharmacy dress, this old pharmacy dress code, and you feel like, okay, this is a special place to go. In Amsterdam, there was Hill Street Blues when I was a student, the bar full of graffiti and stuff. And we would always go there, and it's such an unique Amsterdam experience where you go and you sit by the water down by the grachten.
Have a milkshake there.
Yeah, you can smoke, and
it was actually one of my very, very favorite coffee shops.
You are the one who showed it to me.
Yeah, it's great. Eh?
I loved it, and Dutch people are super innovative, and they are great business people. So I feel like as soon as the Netherlands start taking a more relaxed approach again and a more professional approach in many cases, then the Netherlands will be back on number one probably very quickly, because then there will be big Dutch farmers who say, okay, now I don't grow only tulips, but now we grow cannabis as well. And suddenly the Netherlands will be on the map of cannabis much more again. And looking at extraction facilities and all technological developments, the Netherlands are probably a really good hub to get flower from all over the world and then extract it and bring it to the rest of Europe. Berlin, Berlin is a nice city, and there's a lot of party experience, and cannabis is a big part of the culture. But they have a long way ahead of them to become anywhere close to a cannabis capital, because Amsterdam and Barcelona have made such great progress over the last decades already.
I'm not sure about the situation in the moment, but you from time to time you hear about that they want to have the tourists out of Amsterdam.
Yeah, true. It's still not off the table, you can say. And it's to a lot of Amsterdam people and also to voters of the party of the mayor. We have now, for the first time in the history of Amsterdam, and that's like 700 years, a female mayor. Nice. And she's from a party in Dutch GroenLinks, Green Left. Well, that's supposed to be what it is. And actually, this is the first mayor to take this whole tourist ban seriously and say, maybe we have to do this as well. So my analysis has been for a long time, but I don't know if it's true like that she sort of expects a whole lot of conservative criticism, being a woman and being from Green Left, that she puts this out saying we can take any measure if we need to have the better living climate in the center, because that's what it's about. And so I think that's what she uses it for, because I can really not understand. She has studied criminology, this woman. She understands what will happen. She understands that the dealers will be on the streets. There are already the dealers on the streets as it is, selling hard drugs. But of course, if you ban the tourists from the coffee shops, it's a supermarket for anybody to be on the street and selling weed to the tourists. So I would say, again, if you put a knife to my neck on that question, I would say they will never try it. But I did speak to one of the people there on the city council who wants to do this. And he basically said, well, I can imagine that you are right and that there will be a lot of dealing going on the street if we introduce it. But then we can stop it. But at least then we try it and we know for sure that it worked like that. And this, if you think about it, what a crazy way to govern a city, to sort of gamble and say, well, maybe we have a few months of extreme, dealing on the streets. So maybe this is what actually will happen in the end, that they will try it and then come back from it, like it happened before in other cities in the Netherlands, because mostly this tourist ban was only in the south, and then for including my own city of Eindhoven, where they had it for I think 2.5 years, but then stopped enforcing it because they could see we never had dealers on the street in my city, but yeah, it's becoming ever more an international city. So if you ban non-Dutch citizens from the coffee shops, the dealers will be there. So to give the very short answer to that, the rumors are true that you hear, that they really talk about it, and that there are really some parties in the city council that want to introduce this ban. But I don't think they will introduce it like permanently. If they would do it, it will be a trial period, and then they will find out how stupid it is to even start doing that.
But to quickly comment on your point that you made earlier about Germany and home cultivation there and consumption in dispensaries or however these places might look like, I think now is the time. On the one hand, on LinkedIn, people are really going crazy about it. So the other day, a German distributor asked a question for poll there, should home cultivation be allowed? And then the first couple of answers were like, no, because then you can't regulate the market, etc. And then a couple of hours later, the American markets woke up and suddenly people started going crazy. And they went all in, no, it's the human right to grow this plant and we need it. And then we just keep on putting people in prison again. We keep on putting people into prison again. And then the more I think about it and the more people I talk to, the more I see the need now to act and really position ourselves in that way. Because if we allow politicians now to implement policies again that just prevent us ourselves from being able to grow at home and that force us to buy our flower in one particular place, then take this one flower to our home where we can consume it, but otherwise if we consume it in the park, then we get a ticket, etc. It's the same show again. And
it's a bit like Malta. You know, where there is home growing and cannabis social clubs, but no consumption in the social clubs. And if you consume in public, it's still like €300 fine or something
and
crazy
if a
like
kid is
that.
close by, it gets really crazy.
But if there's any lesson to be learned out of all the activism for cannabis, I would say it's always step by step. And then sometimes it's indeed one step forward, two step back. So you're never going to go from the bad situation into a near perfect situation. We have to just keep on battling for every inch, I would say. But then, the home growing is super important for that. One last thing before we head out. I think some of the viewers, some of the listeners will surely know this. Sebastian, you are also a DJ, and you spent, of course, how many editions were you playing at Cannabis Liberation Day in Amsterdam?
I think 2012 till 2018.
Yeah. So you were the one. You were really our resident DJ.
Yes, and it's such an honor for me. Still up to this day, I never made a big thing out of it because my music is more about my passion for vinyl and for good music. But deep in my heart, I'm really proud of that, and also all the people and the chance to meet people on these events you guys put up there. It's amazing. It's amazing. That's why I also told Lukas before that it's such an honor for me to be sitting here with you guys now in Barcelona after all this COVID madness. Finally meet up with you guys, and I really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure to have you on the High Tea podcast, Barcelona Tour Special.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming over to this Airbnb. And you guys also have a podcast yourself.
But it's in German, unfortunately. So most of the listeners won't understand, but we have the Pilchard's podcast and then pot with tea.
That's a good one. We have the same. So
if you do want to buy weed, you have to write it with a T.
Yeah, we will put the link down under the description.
Really nice website, so be sure to check it out, all our listeners. Really great stuff, great stuff.
I also still want to thank Dutch Passion, Seed Stockers, and Super Sativa Seed Club and Biotabs for sponsoring this episode again. And thanks for all the listeners for listening again. And Derek, thank you.
Thank you, Rens, for doing all the technical shit.
It's
quite well for this episode.
It's lovely. I try to do it as best as possible.
And we'll see you on the next episode of the High Tea Podcast.
Houdoe.